Nicole and welcome to my channel. Today you are standing with me in my newly makeovered bathroom that is now in desperate need of some wall decor. So that's what we're going to work on today. Today we are going to be making a tobacco basket wreath to hang up above the toilet in here. And I know that sounds weird, but it's going to be pretty. Anyway, hang around with me and we're going to make this wreath. All right, here you see I have some jewelry wire because I could not find my floral wire, but this worked. Floral tape and my tobacco basket, which I picked up from Walmart. So that was a win there. And I also picked up some flowers from Walmart. I have lavender and carnations, some green ones that I don't even know what they are, but they were pretty and they met the greenery need for this wreath-like basket thing. So that worked out perfectly. I also have a pair of needle nose pliers. I'm going to show in just a second. And you can use the very inside of them to cut like wire and things like that, like in the artificial flowers. So that's what they are drug out for. And all right, let's get to making the wreath. All right, I really struggled with how to put all these together. I didn't know if I wanted just like a bunch of lavender with a little bit of greenery in the middle of the basket. I didn't know exactly which way I even wanted my basket to turn, even though I'm pretty sure I wanted it tall instead of wide. So here you're just seeing me kind of getting an idea of how I want it to lay out and bending the flowers a little bit before I actually start to put them down. And this is where I figured out that, hey, I'm kind of liking the way this is going. I kind of like this shape because I knew I would be using ribbon to cover up like the dead green space between the ends of the flowers. So this is just me figuring out what I wanted, what I liked together. And I think this is what I decided to go with. So now I'm taking my floral tape and I'm giving it a little bit of a stretch here. I'm sorry it kind of ekes out of the screen there. And I'm wrapping it around the middle of the group of flowers. All I'm doing is holding those stems together. So when I pick them up, they don't go sailing. I want to say this was actually like my second attempt to do this. First time I picked them up and I picked them up and was going to wrap them. They all fell out. I couldn't hold and wrap, so I ended up having to lay them down and do nothing but wrap the tape around them. And as you pull on the floral tape, it becomes sticky to itself. So it will stick to itself as you wrap it on top of each other and overlap, and it'll stick to the flowers. But yet it's not super sticky like regular tape to handle if you've never worked with it before. So now I have all of that bundled together. And any ends that are poking out that are too long on one side or the other, like the stem of one side poking out into the other, you can cut them off when you're done. All right, I decided I needed a little bit more floral tape here. Cover a little bit wider of a section to make it a little bit more stable. So that's all I did is I tore off another little section and I'm going to wrap it around. Floral tape works better for something like this than like what a hot glue would. It just holds it so much better. You could have also used floral wire if you had that. Because my jewelry wire was not green, I didn't want to use the jewelry wire to do it. And really the tape I feel like was probably the best application to do this. So now I've got it laid down in my basket. And I'm deciding what ribbon I want to use. I had two options. I had a burlap wire ribbon, and then I had like almost like a white burlap wire ribbon. But because I was going to add in a couple of the white carnations and my walls in my bathroom are white, I actually ended up opting for the contrast of the burlap ribbon, and I'm glad I did. When you see the finished basket at the end, I think you'll see why I didn't want to go with the white ribbon when I was laying it all out on top of each other. And all I'm doing is tweaking the shape, and I just stuck the stems of the carnations down into the floral tape. I didn't have to undo the tape or anything like that. I just stuck them in and it held and it was ready to go. And here's the third and last carnation that I put in. I really debated on whether or not to add the carnations, but in the end I decided to go ahead and go with it, add a little bit more feel to the wreath itself. And it's almost in there. There we go. That's what I ended up using. And that's all the flowers that went into this. So it ended up being just a couple little green stems, 3 carnations, and a few cuts of lavender off the same lavender bush. So this was not an expensive project. That basket was only $10 from Walmart. And there I am, once again, double checking to make sure that I like the ribbon that I'm going to put in there. You see it's ready for the ribbon. And I think I used the last of my burlap ribbon and just pulled it off, and you see my little one poke his head in right there. All right, all I did was fold the ribbon in half and make it fairly even, and then find the center point where it looped together at the other end right there. Found that center point so that it would be ready to go. And you just start looping, making loops on your ribbon. You loop on one side and then you loop on the other. And you just go back and forth. Or at least this is how I make a bow. I'm sure there's prettier ways to do it. But you know what? This worked for me. I'm happy with how this came out for this project. Some projects I'd want a different type of bow, but that's okay. It worked perfectly for this one. I prefer to do an even number of loops on each side and then tighten it up in the center. I dropped my jewelry wire, had to pick it up. And I just have a piece of jewelry wire I cut with the needle nose pliers, and I'm wrapping it around the center of that ribbon. And when you fluff it up, it's going to make a bow. Sorry, it got a little hard to see right here for a second. I'm bringing it back down for you right there. And I'm just twisting the wire around to hold it. Think of it as like using a bread tie, because that's really what it is. I mean, essentially the concept is like that. Heck, even bread tie is just wire. And that's what you're doing here. And you can see I'm clipping my wire just a little bit shorter so it doesn't stick out quite as long. And when I pull it up right there, all I'm doing is fixing that wire. And you're going to see me start giving the loops a little bit of a fluff here. Now, one of these days, my kids aren't going to be running around like crazy. My husband isn't going to be trying to talk to me the whole entire time I'm filming. And you will actually get to hear me live talk because I'm much more conversational when I do it that way. But with everybody running around, all the noise in the background, we had to go to the voiceover. And, oh yeah, voiceovers are not my favorite thing to record. But here we are. All right, you can see I'm still just fluffing that bow out. Now, I'm just going to set the bow where I want it to go on my flowers there. And I'm just going to get an idea of how far down I want the tail of the bow to hang. I really didn't want it to be super long. I feel like that would have taken away from the flowers in this end. And because this is going in a bathroom, I didn't want a real long draggy tail. So I'm snipping those off. And knowing me, because I am the queen of doing dumb stuff sometimes, I snapped the bow, or snapped the end of one of the bows, cut it off, perfect angle. And then when I went to cut the tail on the other end of the bow to coordinate with the other side, I totally cut it the wrong way. So one side of my bow tail ended up a little bit shorter than I wanted it, but that's okay. Stuff like that happens all the time when I'm crafting. Whatever. In the end, it looked all right, and I made it work, so we're good. All right. I took one of the pieces I snipped off there, and I like to wrap it around the middle of the bow so that you don't see the wire that I use to tie the bow together. That when you look at it, if you should catch a glimpse into the center, all you see is the pretty fabric that it's made out of, and you're not seeing the wire. And once you have that wrapped around, you can just hot glue the back of it. And I think this is the point where I figured out that the piece I cut was actually a little too short. So I had to cut a little bit longer of a piece to wrap around the middle of the bow there. But like I said, it's crafting. I make mistakes all the time. I usually find a way to work it out. And I'm doing exactly what you just saw in the last clip there. Making it go around the center of the bow to cover the wire. Just a longer version here. And I'm hot gluing it on. This ribbon I actually folded over and then wrapped around the middle because it was really, really wide. So I glued it folded over. Just like that. And then I put some hot glue on the back of the bow. Or maybe in the front of the bow. Put the front down and then I flipped it over and hot glued the back so that it would stay there. Don't be stingy with the hot glue, especially if your wreath is going to be somewhere that you get a lot of heat and moisture, particularly heat. Like if you are putting it on a door that gets the sun hit on it, hot glue, at least it does at my house, will just straight up get warm and not hot. I'm forever having stuff off wreaths that I put on my front door because I get the morning sun. And it heats up the glue, and the glue don't hold, and it all falls apart, and it really makes me mad. All right, once I've got that glued on, I'm just fluffing the bow some more. No big deal. Just tweak it, pull the loops, spread them, stretch them, twist those tails, whatever, until it looks the way you want it to look, and something that you are happy with. I like using wired ribbon to make bows for this reason, because it does hold its shape a little better when you twist and pull and all that good stuff. Here I am just adding a little bit more hot glue because, like I said, don't be stingy with it. You want it to hold. This I knew was going in my bathroom and would not be getting direct sun, so I figured hot glue would actually hold this. If it didn't, you may have even wanted to run wire through the back of the burlap, and I'll show you more about that here in just a minute, as I'm going to do something similar. And that's what it's going to look like when I get that bow on. Apparently, I was being really picky with this bow, and this is where I tried to hot glue it onto the floral tape and the floral stems, because that would have been the easiest way to do this, just stick that hot glue on there. However, when I picked it up after hot gluing it, it fell off. I'm going to see if we see that here in just a second. Especially, it probably didn't help that I was tweaking this bow after I hot glued it and probably didn't give the hot glue a chance to really set on it. But I didn't pull the bow up. I thought it would be okay, and I thought it would stick to the flowers and the tape and all that mess, but it really didn't do a good job. So I had to move on to plan B, and I'll show you more about that here in just a second. Gosh, apparently I was really picky about fluffing this bow, and I totally could have waited until I was completely done. I don't know what I was thinking. There we go. There it is, and there it is falling off. Yeah, see, knew it would. So that's okay. When you're crafting, have a plan B, a plan C, and whatever else. So all I'm doing now is taking a piece of the jewelry wire, and I'm actually running it through because the ribbon is the burlap and it's got the wider holes through the fabric itself. I'm running the wire through the back of it just like that, so that I can simply tie it around to the flowers and then turn around and tie it into the back of the basket. So right there, you can see me trying to get my hands around it there. Sorry, y'all, I had to pull it up because look how I'm blind. I gotta have stuff 2 inches in front of my face to see it, to work on it sometimes, and that was one of those times. There we go. All I'm doing is twisting the bow on using the jewelry wire that I had taken through the back of it. And then I'm going to put the flower arrangement. I'm trying to show you the wire there. I'm going to put the flower arrangement back onto the basket where I need it to go. And I'm poking that wire through the holes on the basket. In a minute, you should see that come through down there. Yep, right through there. Pulling it tight. And once the wire's through the holes on the basket, all you have to do is twist your wire together. And it's going to hold it all on. Not as quick as using the hot glue, but definitely a little bit more sturdy. I cut off excess wire, and then I wanted to leave enough of a tail I could easily undo it and fix it if I needed to later down the road for whatever reason. But then I tuck the extra tail down back into the basket towards the flowers, so it's less likely to scrape against my bathroom wall and scratch up my paint jobs should the wreath slide or somebody bump into it, or whatever crazy things happen at my house. My husband's like a bull in a china shop half the time. I'm a klutz, and I have 2 kids, so things just happen. So in most people's houses, you'd probably be perfectly fine, and that wire would never one time scrape the wall, but that's not real life at my house, so we tucked it in. Quick and easy step. And oh my gosh, here I am again just fluffing. Like, I had no idea I left this much fluffing into this video until I went to do this voiceover. Like, yeah, I totally could have done this later. There we go. And it's done, and it is up on my bathroom wall. I love it. It turned out way prettier than you would think watching clunky old me sitting here trying to make this craft. But I love crafts and making things like this. And this is what it ended up looking like in my bathroom. I love it. I love how this bathroom makeover is turning out. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.